Giles seemed like he joined in too much with the main group. Is he available to play?
Yeah, we're having a battle with our skipper. He'd been selected to play, but highly unlikely to, I'd reckon, given that we're hoping he was going to be able to do what Archer did today and just gradually do a warm-up off to the side and then integrate into training in the second half of training, but he's unable to do that. So we'll just assess him. We've got a really low-grade strain in a deep muscle in the quad that doesn't stop him from being able to run as you saw today and do most things, but to kick full length is the concern for him, and we just hope by not playing him last week up in Darwin it would settle and be right to go this week, but he was unable to do get into the ball work today, so we'll make an assessment on how he pulls up tomorrow, but it's highly unlikely he'd play, I reckon.
He's been dealing with a bit in terms of different injuries and concussions. It's been hard for you to get him going the last year or so. Has he been going with that frustration?
Well, he's a resilient character and very, very proud. So he's disappointed that he can't make the contribution that he can. So he's just going through that patch that a lot of footballers do. You know, his has been a whole series of injuries. Usually you get one big injury that just knocks you around for a bit, but his has been a series of little things that have just disallowed him to get continuity with his footy. But yeah, he's a great player. He's a really positive person. So. He'll bounce back, but we just need to get his body right for a start. And just on the back of today, it doesn't look like that's the case for this week's game. So we'll see where that lands over the next 24 hours. But hopefully we can get him right for next week. We've got a bye coming up, so that's also in our mind. You know, with young McKercher as well. You know, he's got bit of stress in his foot, and he's got a history with that from last year, so we just don't want to take a risk with that. So we'll just see how he is as well. But you know, with 2 games before the bye, we'll probably look with both he and Jai if they're no certainty. We'll just hopefully get him right for the second half of the year.
Do you put Harry back now that McKercher's out?
Yeah, well, that's a possibility. We wanted to give Harry. We think long term that Harry's going to end up playing somewhere else other than half back, and we're really pleased with what he's been able to do back there. And the approach to this year, whether we try and consolidate him at half back and then integrate him into the midfield, sort of midway through the year or towards the end of the year. So we've done that over the last. We've sort of stuck to our plan, but now there's a necessity maybe to take him to half back because young McKercher's going to be out for a week or two. So. We'll work that out, but we're sort of stuck in a little bit of a bind. We want to give him some midfield exposure, but we also need him at half back. So to answer your question, you'll probably have a little bit of both this week, but I couldn't really tell you exactly which way it's going to turn.
The last couple of weeks he's been in that mid-forward role. Harry, how have you assessed, do you like 20 possessions from him sort of midfield forward or 30, 35 defensively worked out?
Yeah, well, this is the challenge. You know what we are recognising in terms of his patterns in the middle of the ground. He's been in the right spots a lot of the time, and he just hasn't been used. And so that's encouraging for us. We've been reasonably happy with what he's been able to do through the middle, but he's not generating the same amount of touches on the ball as what he did. But we're not necessarily looking for that to be the case either. You know, it's a bit harder in some instances to get as much free ball in the middle of the ground as what he was getting at half back. So it's a little bit horses for courses, sort of what's best for the side, what's best for him, and try to balance that up. But we know, you know, he's only 18 months into his AFL career. You know, he's played about 32 or 35 games or somewhere thereabouts. So you know, he's only an infant in terms of where we want him to be long term. So we've just got to balance that. What can he do for the side right now, and what's going to be long term for him.
The Bombers getting pumped up by everyone and they'd be feeling good about themselves. Do you sense the opportunity to upset them and to take a scalp? Yeah,
well, they've got every reason to be happy with how they're going because they are performing really well. They're a pretty experienced group, and they added 4 players from opposition clubs that really solidified their group, that have all come in and made good contributions for them. 2 of those boys obviously were from here. And you know, their group of players like your Perkinses and your Coxes and these guys that are now, 4 years into their footy careers are starting to play some good footy for them. And so yeah, they're all we can do is really worry about what we can control, and that's continue to try and work on parts of our game that I thought there was patches of the game against Gold Coast last week where we're really, really competitive, and just our group, I think you saw it with the Cats last night, it just ran out of gas. It's you don't want to be behind on the scoreboard at three-quarter time when you're in Darwin. And that was the case with the Cats last night, just trying to find the energy to get going and pull back a margin is really tough. But at different stages in the first half last week, we're really pleased with the way that we're going against Gold Coast. We just got to do that for longer against good opposition. We've got another terrific opponent tomorrow on Sunday, and we'll just try and do it a bit longer and a bit deeper into the game.
Do you lean into the rivalry? There's obviously been traditionally a fair bit of heat between these two clubs.
Perhaps you would if the two sides were really a lot closer on the ladder, and but we want to be strong competitors against any opposition that we play, and I don't think there's anything in this game that will needle our players to perform any better than what they've been trying over the last 9 rounds. So there might be a little bit in it, but we're not going to be driving it too much. It's more about the here and now for us in terms of what our style is, and trying to get that solidified a little bit more than really worrying about the rivalry with the Bombers.
Todd and Ben, any extra motivation there?
What's that, sorry?
Any extra motivation now Todd and Ben are over at the Bombers?
No, not really. I mean, they both of them effectively took advantage of the free agency they were both entitled to, they're right to this point, their decisions have been really, really good ones, because particularly in Goldie's case, he's played a lot of footy for the one club, and wanted that opportunity right in the twilight of his career. We couldn't guarantee him, because of the future that we had and the time that we wanted to put into Sherry. We couldn't guarantee that Goldie was going to play frequently. Obviously, through the Essendon system, they could guarantee him more, or saw more opportunity for him, and he's made the most of that chance. Particularly with Draper out now, he gets to do what he got to do at North, ironically enough, last year when Sherry was out with injury with an ankle. That he played a lot of footy, but somewhere in the last 2 weeks, I think he passed the record for 10,000 hit-outs in AFL footy. I mean, he's been an extraordinary player at AFL level and continues to be that. So we're really pleased for both those lads. They made contributions at our footy club, and they did the professional thing in a sense, and that's assessed their careers, took advantage of the free agency clause that's available to them, and opted to go to another club. So whilst we'll be competitors tomorrow, they've been great servants of our footy club, and we wish them well.
We can all see that you're very young, and it's going to take time. Are you giving the spirit of the group a tick at the moment? It sort of sounds like you are.
Yeah, well, I can't fault the effort of the lads. Last week was just such a disappointing result for us, because I didn't feel like it was a 10-goal loss in terms of the effort that our players put in. And particularly the first quarter. Now I know that the game goes a lot longer than 1 quarter, of course, but I thought that we could have been in front by a goal or two in last week's game against Gold Coast. I thought we played some really good footy, and as we saw with what they did to the Cats last night, they're not a side that's easy to compete against. And I thought in different aspects of the game, but by three-quarter time last week, our kids were just cooked. And it was, a lot of our players were, and I think the same sort of language. We spoke to Gold Coast after the game, and they said, that was the most oppressive conditions that they'd played in all the times they've been there as well. So, not sure if that was the same last night, but it certainly was last Saturday night. So, we continue to judge ourselves on effort at training and effort in their approach to everything they need to do to prepare for the game, and then obviously on game day. And we're not doing it consistently yet on game day, but we're pleased that the endeavour and the morale and all that sort of stuff is staying as high as it possibly could, given that we haven't won a game at this point in time.
Bit of discussion about the possibility of whether you'd look at sort of veteran senior players to come in and help out with the young players, particularly in the midfield, say for argument's sake, a Luke Parker who's not playing at Sydney at the moment, or Dylan Sheezel hasn't played much at Essendon. Is that something you feel like you'd be interested in?
Yeah, I think so. And we've seen that model before, and particularly at Brisbane, Fakes did that with Hodgie and Grant Birchall. And we need that sort of leadership and direction too that will assist us, as well as just giving us, that bracket of probably 25 to 30-year-olds in our club is probably a little bit less than the depth in that area at other clubs. So we'll look at that, but they need to be the right fit. We need to feel like they can come in and make a contribution on field. It's not just bringing them in there because they're good fellas or historically they've been good leaders at their previous clubs. But we'll look at any mechanism possible that can help fast track these players through our system, but that's more an end of the year type of thing than it is being able to do anything about it right now.
Is the mid-season draft a potential avenue to get in any mature players? Is that something you consider then?
Yeah. We'll go through that over the next 2 to 3 weeks, but yeah, certainly that's an opportunity too. So we'll look at that and see what's available. We'll assess our list. We've obviously got two spots with young Goda going down in the first game of the year, and then the third game of the year, ironically enough, Coleman Jones goes out with the same injury, and he's a 12-month injury as well. So we've got 2 spots on our list, and we'll look to fill them as best we possibly can. And the list management team will probably provide us with some options over the next week or 2.
Do you think a mid-season trade period would help to unlock some of those more senior players at other clubs who can't get a game? Would that be of interest, or would that be useful, do you think?
Yeah, it's a debatable topic. As quickly as you say, these are the positives to it. You'll get screamed down because there's disadvantages to it as well. I haven't looked at it in enough depth to really have a judgment. I only just sit on the fence and listen to the debate and say, yeah, like for us right now, getting some extra support, with Coleman Jones going down, some extra support for Nick Larkey in the front end would be really handy for us. And so, but sometimes you can be biased just to your own personal circumstances, and you push for that to be the case, and then there might be another club, or it might be our club in 2 years' time saying, no, this mid-season draft's got whiskers on it. So I don't really know, but there's certainly some merit. I do know that the mechanisms with being able to move players around, it's a very constrained, regulated system that we work in. So that's it makes it very, very difficult to change the profile of your list really, really quickly. So if you think of NBA, and they only need to have 3 or 4 changes to their list, and it's a third of their squad. We make 3 or 4 changes to our list. That's less than 10% of our squad. So that's a big difference. So you can go to a draft in the NBA and have picks 2 and 5 in the draft, and they'll come in and play straight away for you, and they're playing as part of a starting 5. We have 2 picks like Sheezel and Wardlaw come in. They're 2 players that are part of a 18. So in our game, it's much more difficult for players to come in and have a significant impact on the game. As you saw some do, like Sheezel and these kids, but by and large, it's a hell of a lot more difficult in our game. So anything that can fast track the movement of players and the chances for clubs, and maybe that mid-season draft, it's even a chance for clubs who are wanting to challenge for silverware in that particular year, but they've lost the player through injury or whatever. They may make a decision to try and take a player from elsewhere that will help them, but maybe give up a draft pick or another player to a club that might see fit. So that's what I'm saying. There's benefits to it, but just as often as you come up with something good about it, someone will say, no, it's got whiskers on it. So.
Just what do you need to see from Will Phillips? Obviously a young player who's had some ups and downs. Had a mix again. It's probably just the balance of inside mids, and Wardlaw, obviously LDU, Tommy Powell, and they're all just slightly ahead of him in terms of that particular role at this point in time, and so it just
strangely enough, it just upsets the balance of our side if we've got too many of those inside mids all in the one spots, and Wilfil is sort of fourth in the pecking order in that space, and that's had him just on the edge. And we thought in the Darwin game we'd play an extra inside mid, obviously because of the conditions and it being a bit slippery. But Marvel, probably the deck's going to be a little bit quicker. There'll probably be less stoppages, and you'd expect that playing an extra inside mid might not be the way to go for us. So that's why he's fallen out of the side this time.